Welcome back to Yehoshua's Daf Yomi Shiur, where the Daf continues daily until the complete revelation of Mashiach ben David, Messiah, the son of David. And we now are starting a new chapter, the 7th chapter of Tractate Chullin, on page 89b, almost at the top of the page, or about a line into it. And the Mishnah starts the 7th chapter, Gid Hanashe, and let's get started. Gid Hanashe, Noheg ba'aretz u'b'chutz ha'aretz, b'fnei habayis, v'shelo b'fnei habayis, v'chulin u'v'mukdashin, v'noheg b'vehema u'v'chaya b'yerech shel yamin u'v'yerech shel smol, Okay, the Mishnah says the prohibition of eating the sciatic nerve applies in both Eretz Yisrael and outside of Eretz Yisrael, in the presence of, meaning in the time of the temple, and not in the presence of the temple, and with regard to non-sacred animals, and with regard to sacrificial animals, and it applies to domesticated animals and to undomesticated animals, to the thigh of the right leg and to the thigh of the left leg. But it does not apply to a bird, due to the fact that the verse makes reference to the sciatic nerve as being upon the spoon of the thigh. Genesis 32:33. And a bird has no spoon of the thigh, whatever that means. The spoon of the thigh. Kaf. Okay. And the prohibition applies to a late-term animal fetus, in the womb. Rabbi Yehuda says it does not apply to a fetus, and similarly its fat is permitted. And butchers are not deemed credible to say that the sciatic nerve was removed. This is the statement from Rabbi Meir. And the rabbis say they are deemed credible about the sciatic nerve and about the forbidden fat. Okay. And now we start the Talmud. Mukdashin, Pshita, Mishum de Akdeshe, Paka le Yisur Gid Bineh. The Mishnah teaches that the prohibition of eating the sciatic nerve applies to both non-sacred animals and sacrificial animals. The Gemara asks, is it not obvious that the prohibition applies to sacrificial animals? Would it be reasonable to suggest that because one consecrated it, he has abrogated the prohibition of eating the sciatic nerve from it? So why are you even telling me that you have to do it? That's obvious. Okay. And if you would say that sciatic nerves have the ability to impart flavor, meaning they possess flavor, and the Mishnah is teaching that the prohibition of eating meat of sacrificial animals comes and takes effect upon the sciatic nerve, despite the fact that it is already subject to the prohibition of eating the sciatic nerve, the Mishnah should have stated the prohibition of eating meat of sacrificial animals applies to the sciatic nerve. The Gemara suggests, rather, the Tana of the Mishnah holds that the sciatic nerve does not have the ability to impart flavor, and the Mishnah is teaching that with regard to sacrificial animals, there is a prohibition of eating the sciatic nerve, but there is no additional prohibition of eating the meat of a sacrificial animal. Okay. V'savar tona didan ein begidim b'noi sein tam etnan yerech shenitbashel b'gid hanoshe im yesh ba b'noi sein tam reizu asuro. The Gemara challenges this explanation. And does the Tana of our Mishnah hold that the sciatic nerve does not have the ability to impart flavor? But didn't we learn in the Mishnah 96b, in the case of a thigh that was cooked with the sciatic nerve in it, if there is enough of the sciatic nerve in the thigh to impart its flavor to the meat, the entire thigh is forbidden. Consequently, it is clear that the Tan of the Mishnah holds that the sciatic nerve does possess flavor. Elahacha bivladois kadoshim askinon b'kasav noig b'shlil b'kasav vladois kadoshim b'miyai iman hein kadoshim the isur gid v'isur mukudashim v'hadiyadodi kasi. Rather, in the Mishnah here, we are dealing with the offspring of sacrificial animals. And the Tana holds that the prohibition of eating the sciatic nerve applies with regard to a fetus. And he also holds that the offspring of sacrificial animals are consecrated even while they are in the womb of their mother. Consequently, the prohibition of eating the sciatic nerve and the prohibition of eating sacrificial animals come into effect at the same time. And therefore both prohibitions apply. And one does not say that a prohibition does not take effect where another prohibition already exists. Umi matzis mukmat la b'shlil. Midikatoni seifa noig b'shlil miklad darei shela b'shlil eskinon. Hochi komar. Davar ze machloikes. The Rabbi Yehuda ve'Rabbanon. The Gemara challenges this explanation. Can you interpret this clause of the Mishnah as referring to a fetus? From the fact that the latter clause teaches it applies to a late-term fetus, Rabbi Yehuda holds that it does not apply to a late-term fetus. It may be inferred that in the first clause we are not dealing with a fetus. The Gemara explains this is what the Tana of the Mishnah is saying. This matter that was taught in the first clause is a matter of dispute between Rabbi Yehuda and the rabbis. Mi mati samri tarvayu b'anyada dikasu yotnana lelutumos hanozir migaleach v'almes v'alkezayis v'almes. The Gemara again challenges the explanation that the first clause of the Mishnah is referring to a fetus, and how can you say that both prohibitions come into effect at the same time? But didn't we learn in the Mishnah, Nazir 49b, that a Nazirite shaves for having become impure from these sources of ritual impurity, for impurity imparted by a corpse and for impurity imparted by an olive bulk of a corpse? And the clause for impurity imparted by a corpse is difficult for us, as it seems unnecessary. If a Nazirite must shave for impurity imparted by an olive bulk of a corpse, is it not all the more so true that he must shave for impurity imparted by an entire corpse? Rabbi Yochanan says it is necessary only for a miscarried human fetus whose limbs have not yet become joined to its sinews. Since the spine is complete, the fetus is considered a full corpse. But as the limbs have not yet joined to the sinews, it does not contain an olive bulk of flesh.